Welcome to another edition of the Harmon Solar podcast. I'm your host, Rob Romano, VP of Sales and Marketing at Harmon Solar. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Ben Wolschlager, also known as...
Mr. Everything.
Mr. A little enthusiasm. Mr.
Everything.
Mr. Everything. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It's been about, a month?
It's been a while, yeah.
Oh,
nice
4
little
weeks.
break. Yeah.
Took a little break, got refreshed, grew a little hair, except for you.
Well,
and
trying to, I guess.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So it was time to get back together again. And today, we got a guy.
We got a guy.
Another guy.
Well, hold on. Before we get into the guy,
Okay, let's not talk guys.
let's recap. What have we done so far? We've talked about the ins and outs of solar.
Yep.
You, as a customer or homeowner, you made the decision, okay, I'm going to do it. I've watched the sales process. I kind of know what's going to go on, so I don't have any questions there. I know what's after the sale, before my installation goes on.
Right.
And I'm all up to speed and everything. And now it's the big day, right?
It's the big day.
Time to get those
Time
panels,
to get it installed?
get those panels on your roof.
Wow.
Let's do it.
It's about time.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, depending on how long it takes, but
yeah.
that's pretty much what we've done. So
That's pretty much from the time that we started the podcast to now is like the length
To get you to this-
it worked out nice.
well,
Depending on the jurisdiction.
depending on the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So now we're at that point, and now it becomes the job of a guy,
The guy,
the guy that owns all of this.
no pressure.
No pressure at all. And so if you're happy with us, this is the guy you want to praise. If you're not, this is the guy you want to call. And we'll have his phone number and email and home address
Like always.
after the show.
Like always. Yeah.
So today,
I forgot to memorize your home address.
you can't talk yet. You're not on camera. Today we have Brad Yant. He's our Director of Operations at Harmon Solar. Brad, welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome.
So, Brad, how long you been at Harmon?
I am in my 4th year at Harmon.
4th year. It's not bad. Lower end of people that we brought on.
Yeah, he's new.
He's newer. He's not as new as our last guest, who was 2 years, but 4 years is not bad.
Probably feels like 100.
A little more.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you and your background. What have you done before you came to Harmon?
Background, 25 years doing new home builds.
New home builds.
So you know everything about a house.
And a guy.
And a guy. All right.
I do. Spent a long time doing home building.
Custom homes or
Understand.
custom homes?
Custom,
Cookie cutters?
Cookie cutter,
Yeah.
custom, and semi-customs.
Everything.
Did a little bit of commercial development as well. So got a little bit of that experience. And then also got to demo some schools
Oh, okay.
and do infill communities, which was an experience and a half.
I did not know that.
So you have a good amount of background in construction.
Building stuff. Yeah.
That's what you are. That's what you do, right? It's all about construction. So you are the Director of Operations at Harmon Solar.
Some days.
So
Depends who's calling. No.
yeah. What does it
no word.
mean? What does it mean? What's in your world to be the Director of Operations?
I think just trying to bring people together on our team, in all honesty.
Okay.
I'll probably go off
Go ahead.
off a little bit, but
I can edit everything out, so go ahead.
okay. So obviously, like one of my first inclinations, even interaction with you, is erase lines in the sand.
Yeah.
Between sales and ops. I think you find that all the time. I've got previous years of obviously director of operations stuff, and you find that combativeness in between sales and ops all the time. And
Always.
That's
Yes.
one of my main focuses is to try and erase those lines, right, and blur them as much as possible, and understand that it's all for the benefit of the company.
Yeah, and for people to understand that, which I'm sure a lot of you do, I mean, you always have the sales side of the business that's getting the new business and bringing it in and wants it to go and move as fast as possible for a lot of different reasons, because they want to keep customer happy. They want everything to be perfect. And in construction, not everything is always perfect.
Right.
And we've talked about that, and we'll get into that later on as well. But so there's always going to be a little bit of this sometimes between sales and ops. And I think we've done a good job in the last 4 years of kind of minimizing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have a little bit of it.
Yeah,
right?
it's
I mean,
always going
that's
to,
just-
there's
we're
going to be a
dealing with
piece of it there.
humans.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to blur those lines as much as possible and understand the best benefit to the business and not just personal interest.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So talk about, what departments are under you? What do you oversee?
All the residential and then warehouse
Okay.
literally fall under me. The auditing team as well fall under me. So I've got my hands in quite a few baskets every day.
All the field guys.
Yeah.
So everything we've kind of been talking about up to this point, a lot of it is Brad's.
It's his doing.
It's his,
Again, show that number.
it's his doing. So he's responsible for all that. Okay. So I think today we want to focus on installation day.
Right.
Like you said, we've gotten all the way up to this point, and now a customer is hopefully ready to get installed. They've got their permits up finally. The designs are all done. Everything was permitted. And now we just need to get them on the schedule.
Yeah.
Well, and we have to order equipment and all that. But we have to get them on the schedule.
And it's not as easy as just throwing up on the roof and a couple screws, right?
Sure it is.
Oh,
Well,
then
I thought it
wrong.
was too. I didn't know it was that hard.
Yeah.
So
My mistake.
yeah, it is your mistake. So let's talk about that. So you actually you oversee the parts ordering part too, right? So you have a department that does that. So there's a department that under you that orders the equipment, and gets it all, and that can take some time. I don't know how long it takes to get the equipment.
Depends. Obviously, if it's a simple job, we don't have any duration issues usually. If there's equipment upgrades, things of that nature that are going into something, then yeah, we deal with some longer lead times on some things.
So if I'm a customer, I'm at home waiting for something to happen. Who calls me? Who tells me what's going on as far as scheduling? What's that process?
Are we talking normal or hypothetical?
Gosh, I don't know how to answer that. Do
Do we have a hypothetical person that does this?
Well, and the reason being, right? I mean, once again, around Ralph, we've talked quite a bit. I'd love to tell you we live in a perfect world. No one makes mistakes, and your project manager should be reaching out to you, right? That's the goal, is that the project manager is communicating with the clients as much as feasibly possible, understanding that we go through, and I don't want to get off from the installs, but we deal with permitting timelines, right?
Right.
Some jurisdictions are longer, so it does go quiet for a little bit. It goes dark. Hopefully, as we get closer to install, though, you've got interaction with your project manager. They've reached out to you to tell you when material's coming. Install dates are confirmed with you. We just don't arbitrarily show up and knock on the door and say, "Hey, we're here to do this."
So hypothetically, should I hear when it goes dark? Does that mean I don't hear from anybody for a period of time, or is there actually touch points with that? Or
There's
what happens?
still touch points. They're just not as frequent.
Every couple of weeks, maybe.
Yeah, every couple of weeks. And then obviously we're also trying to engage and stay engaged with the salesperson as well.
Right.
So everyone's on the same page and knows what's happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because the goal is to have your permits ready and materials and all that stuff by installation day. Obviously, you don't want to have like, okay, we got materials and we got our permits. Now let's go ahead and schedule.
No,
Because it might be 2 or 3 months after that because the schedule's so backed up. So you gotta have to our goal is to kind of time it so that when we get everything at the same time.
We spend quite a bit of time. So as jobs are flowing through the process, what we'll do is we'll back into trying to anticipate scheduling timeframes.
Right.
And we'll layer things in with tentative dates on things.
Yep.
And that way it gives us opportunity on the calendars to move jobs in and out based on what's going on.
Yeah, so that's why we tell customers, hey, this is your tentative install date. It might be sooner if something else moves around, but it also might be a little bit later if there's delays. But plan on this day.
I just thought of something. You were actually his boss at one point, weren't you?
Yeah.
Well, that is accurate.
So you're in a room right now with both your ex-bosses.
How's it feel?
Well, the fact that you're ex, it feels good.
It's fine.
Because you don't work for me anymore. It feels really good.
It feels really good, doesn't it? Feels good?
Yeah, great.
And one day you two will work for me.
Yeah, I'll be dead.
Yeah, probably not.
And I'll be retired.
See, I'll be dead. He'll be retired. That's great. How's it make you feel?
Feels great. You'll
right,
still
good.
be working for me, I guess.
Good. Good. Okay, so like you said, not a perfect world, but you're going to communicate with the customer. Hey, let them know we're going to be coming out. Blah blah blah. Now we do something very different. We don't typically just come out and if it's a 1-day install, we don't come out and do it all on the first day. We actually have a roofing team that comes out first. Wow. Correct?
So roofers show up roughly. I'm going to tell you in a perfect world about a week or two before install to do the roofing piece, and then we go into what we call a valet with our distributor, and the distributor you'll get notifications from your project manager when these dates get set up, but the distributor shows up roughly a day prior, and our intent is to get all the material loaded onto your roof. So when the install team shows up day of install, all the equipment's already on the roof.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So 2 things. Roofing team comes out. They're putting up the stanchions.
Correct, roof stanchions.
Just the stanchions.
Yes, just the stanchions. At that point, they're supposed to put everything back, right? That all the 3-course material and any tile flash kits, all that's supposed to be put back together.
Right.
So when solar shows up, it's just
They're ready to go.
Yeah,
They
just
prep the
install
roof.
elf and go.
So we can explain what a stanchion is. If you don't know what a stanchion is, it's, I guess I can say it's that little thingy that'll be sticking out of your.
You can probably put a link to our roofing video.
Yeah, because the roofing video does talk about the
about
stanchions, and they're just metal. What are they? Do you remember how were they? 6 inches, 4 inches?
5, generally about 5 inches.
So they're 5-inch metal round things that are going to stick out of your roof. Sometimes there'll be the metal tile plates in there as well. We've shown you all that in the roofing video, but that's what we're talking about. Is their team will come out and do that first, and that could be 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
So you could have that stuff sitting on your house for 2 weeks before we get out there. So that's good to know. Yeah. And then you're saying that our supplier will then come out typically a day before.
Yeah, generally it's a day or two before. We try and plan a day before. A lot depends if we're running into holidays or what their schedule is, and then we actually run into some opportunities where we'll get a phone call from them. Hey, we don't have the manpower to get it up on the roof, and we need to place it in a secure area at the homeowner's home, right? So then it's obviously trying to get it if it's a backyard scenario behind a gate or someplace that we can feel confident that it's going to be safe until the install crew shows up.
So their goal is, though, to try to put it on the roof.
That is the goal.
Meaning they're going to put a stack of panels and stuff on the roof.
Yeah, the distributor uses they've got a series of unistruts that go up there. We're not just free floating panels up on the roof.
I'm just trying to understand as a customer, be like, you're putting stuff on my roof and just leaving it there?
They've got a unistrut system that they put up there and gets lagged down, and then all the material goes into that. So it's all sitting up there secure. Shouldn't blow away.
He said shouldn't.
Shouldn't. Once again, we are dealing with humans.
Yeah, right.
All right, so shouldn't.
Shouldn't.
Well, let's hope that doesn't.
Right.
We never had that happen yet.
We have not, right? But that's there's once again, Ralph, I think you've known me long enough to know now, right? I'll stand behind everything we do. Mistakes are going to happen.
Agreed.
We don't run from them. That's one of the differences with us.
Right? Yeah, no, I agree with that. And just to want everybody to understand. So no, and all kidding aside, yeah, we do put it on your roof. It is secure. Nothing's going to happen. But the point is, they are going to sit it up there if they can, if they have the manpower, like you said, and that just makes it so much easier for when the crew comes the next day.
Right.
So we've gotten to that point. We got stuff on the roof. We got everything going in. Now we get to installation day.
Yep, everything's prepped and ready. Like we've got all of our ingredients out. We're ready to cook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's start cooking.
We're ready to cook. What time do we start cooking?
Depends on time of year.
Summer.
I'm going to tell you, we try and get there as early as we can get there. We generally have a 6 a.m. start time. You'll probably see guys showing up 5:45.
Wow.
Wanting to get going. A lot of this, once again, let's talk, right? A lot of this depends on HOAs.
Sure.
What rules or guidelines we're working with. But obviously, 110, 115 degree heat, these guys want to be off the roof by 1 o'clock. We don't, and furthermore, we don't want our guys up there for safety reasons. We've put some protocols into place even for our teams in the past couple of years about, summer activities and how we want these installs to go so that we keep everyone healthy.
Okay.
Homeowner need to be awake during that time?
Well, if they're not awake when we arrive, they're going to be awake shortly.
I knew that was coming.
You stepped into that one.
Is that Santa on my roof?
Jeez. Yeah, they're going to be awake real quick.
Yeah.
I remember when they did it on my house, I was awake, but I mean, it was, you could obviously hear it.
If someone's walking on your roof, I guess you can probably hear it.
I think one of the things, even talking to that point, that we've been trying to coach the guys on, and I think just recently we've started to get a little bit better at it with my interaction with the superintendent is, coaching these guys, the foremen, to start engaging with the homeowners when they get on site.
Yeah, so I was going to go to that. That's where I was going next. Yeah. So I'm glad you walked right into that. That's perfect. What's the team? So who's out there? You said you have a foreman that comes out there.
We should have a foreman, a roof lead, and then obviously the other crew members.
Okay, and then so the foreman's going to try to engage first with a customer.
Foreman should try and engage with the client, right? We actually want them. It's funny, and I don't mean to. This isn't a dig at Harmon by any stretch. When I got there, though, 4 years ago, that from what I saw, that communication wasn't happening, right? The foreman were pretty shut down with the client and just there to focus on their job. And I think we've tried to turn the corner with that, is that we want them engaged with the client.
Absolutely.
We want them to explain to the client, hey, this is where this equipment's going on your wall. This is where it's going to hang. set some expectations, right? Because once again, expectations are everything.
Yeah.
And if a client's perceiving something different in their head and we start working and it's not what they're envisioning, we're not in a good spot at the end of the day.
It's taking all my questions away. So that's what I was going to say is I would hope that we knock on the door, say hi, I'm whoever I am with Harmon, have the plan and say, this is what we're getting ready to come do, right? We're going to install panels. This is where they're going. We have a battery that's going here, blah, blah, blah. Make sure everybody's copacetic.
Yep.
This, versus not saying hi, getting on the roof, putting stuff up, and people are like, what the heck? You didn't.
Yeah.
This isn't even this. I didn't order. So
It goes back to a story that you told me. It wasn't a Harmon install, but I think you told me that someone, a company installed panels on the wrong home.
yeah.
All it took was someone to knock on the door and say, hey, we're here with, so-and-so, we're here to install, but they didn't do that. They just installed panels on a home, and turns out, wrong house.
What are you doing on my roof?
Yeah.
Oops. Santa came early.
Thanks for the system, but I didn't
Did I
buy
win?
it.
Did I win? So it helps alleviate stuff like that too.
The other thing to be cognizant about with that initial upfront conversation is, once again, understanding if there's determining factors that, hey, we're going to move some equipment around, or the homeowner, the client wants something a little bit different. Understand, we could end up going back to do permit revisions.
Right. That stops everything.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we can proceed with 99% of the install at that point, but we are going to have to go back to the jurisdiction because it's got to show on that plan set where it's going.
So what you're saying is it's a good idea to make sure everybody's on the same page before you start doing anything.
Oh yeah.
So, and I know we've talked about in the process where we do a design approval with the customer.
So
we have in the past.
Correct. We've kind of gone to sending that plan set to them and kind of relying upon them if they have questions or concerns when that plan set is sent to them to reach back out to us.
Because if they don't, we're just going to assume it's good and we're going to move forward.
There you go.
Right. And so when we're calling to schedule the install, is anyone even touching that point anymore?
Not to a whole, we're hoping at that point that they've had plenty of time to review.
Right.
Because we're anticipating permit coming back in at that point. So,
And you would assume you'd hear something right
weeks.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you call up to say, hey, I'm going to schedule the install, well, what are you talking about? I didn't want this done. And you can start having that whole conversation. Unfortunately, that'd be a bad time to have it.
Correct. But better at that time than after the fact.
But that's a delayed conversation now because now you got to go back and re-permit and everything else. So to your point,
As a PM though, we don't even get to that point until we get, like, when we send them the plan set, we say, I need some sort of verbal confirmation that this is what you want. So verbal or text, email, something that says,
I think yes,
this is what I
in
want.
the past that's been the situation, but
Yeah.
I know that in the recent we've moved away from even that. We've more said, here it is. You need to respond to us if it's not what you want because we're moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want to create the major delay. If someone takes 3 weeks to get back to us, that project's just sitting. We want to go get it permitted. So it's like, hey, here it is. Get back to us in the next 48 hours. If you don't get back to us,
We're going forward.
we're going to move forward.
Yeah, just trying to streamline and find some efficiency gains.
Okay.
there.
So anyway, yeah. So we just, if they don't get back to us within 48 hours, then we're just moving forward and going down the process. And then hopefully when they're sitting at that front door, they're not having that conversation of, oh, this is not what I wanted. So everybody just needs to understand if it get to that point and you say, this is not what I wanted, now everything stops. Like we just talked about, we have to go get re-permitted. We can't, the installation gets put on hold for the most part. Maybe some of it can still happen.
Plans got to be redesigned.
Which is why it's so important that not only do we have to do our part, you as a homeowner has to do their part. You have to be able to communicate to us. You have to tell us, yes, no, let's move. If you don't communicate to us, these are the bad things that can happen down the road.
Yeah.
Which then are just going to make you upset because now you're going to wait even longer to get something that you want up there to start saving you money.
Right.
So everybody has a part of this. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long, typical install, I know this is tough because there's so many different kinds. There's small installs, large installs, but a typical install, what is it? Is it a day? Is it 2 days?
Typical install should only be a day, depending on when we schedule these things. We're looking at the plan set, looking at number of arrays, distance to the main panel. I was about to say SES. Most people wouldn't
know what that is.
Distance back to the main panel, right? What are our conduit runs? How are we getting there? So all those things kind of come into consideration when we're looking at job duration. Generally speaking, though, standard system, a day.
A day. And the customer's going to know how long prior to that, right? They're going to tell them it's a 2-day install.
Yeah.
Correct.
3-day install.
When that scheduled date is confirmed with them.
Are they going to have their power turned off during this time?
If they do, it should be very, very, very quickly. Generally, on a standard install, you're looking at if it's going to get shut down, it's just to pop the back feed in if you need to, the back feed breaker. Other than that, if the job's got a D rate, yeah, you're going to lose power for a little bit because we've got to pull your main circuit breaker out to put the D rate breaker in. So you would be looking at losing power. And then obviously if you have an SES upgrade, once again, sorry about the vernacular, a main panel upgrade so they understand, then yeah, you would also be looking at a shutdown in that scenario.
So let's talk about that. So a main panel upgrade. Now, isn't that a more involved? Does that happen at the time of installation? Does it happen before, after?
A little of both. Generally, we want to get them before. So obviously, when solar comes out to tie in, right, the main panel's there, and we don't have to walk away from that job with wires dangling or things not. It happens.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that we're able to just tie in immediately with main panel already being upgraded and ready to go.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
So does the utility have to come out for any part of that?
yeah, main panel upgrade, same thing. They're going to come out. They're going to pull meter socket. We actually have to go through an inspection. So once we get new panel up and start getting all the breakers back landed in the panel, we have to get inspection through the jurisdiction before the utility company comes back out to restab the meter in.
So that can actually hurt the timeline for when the system gets installed, right? Because we have to go on their schedule.
Correct. So yeah, utilities, we don't get to dictate to the utilities
Right.
when we have them shut down. They kind of dictate to us based on their scheduling availability.
Right. So anybody that's getting a main panel upgrade, I mean, that could definitely adjust the time of when your system's going to get installed. We might be able to move really fast, but maybe the utility is like, hey, I'm this many weeks out. I can't come out till this.
Yeah.
We're at their mercy, like you just said.
Again, that's if you need the main panel upgrade.
If you need
It's
it,
not
yes.
everyone needs it.
Not everyone needs
Exactly. Don't want to scare anyone out there.
No, I don't
It's
want to
just-
scare you, but I
yeah.
want reality to set in,
Exactly.
right? Just like if we need to get a utility input on something in the design. So if something in your design is kind of questionable, we need to go to the utility and say, hey, what do you want to see?
Right.
We have to wait for them to come back to us. And that
they're
could
the
take a
ones-
while.
yeah.
So what we generally see on those is what's going on is a lot of older homes, older constructed homes, main panels were installed in backyards, under overhangs, carports. Those things are no longer allowed to be done that way
Yeah.
in today's environment and based on all the new code updates. And so what we find is if you've got to have either a D-rate or some kind of upgrade, those services have to move. They're not allowed to remain in place. Overhead services will have to move. We've run into all of the above, and once again now we're up against trying to figure this out. So we've got to get the utility input back from them to say, hey, this is where we can run our conductors. This is where we're expecting the new service location to be. So once again, there's 20 things behind the scenes happening that people really don't understand
Right.
what's going on or why there is delays.
Yeah.
And I think, utility input, as we've kind of talked about, it's one of those gray areas that we tend to follow with the utility and go down that path with them, because what we don't want is to get to the end of the process and have an upgrade and the utility come out and say, nope, sorry, it doesn't work here. We're not going to allow this.
And that's where I was going. So perfectly got me there, right? Is there's companies out there that just
Yep.
go ahead and do whatever they think is right, wrong, or indifferent, and it's not what the utility wants.
Right.
Correct.
And now we get to that point, and everybody has to stop because utility says, nope, can't do that.
And let me tell you the good news, right? The good news is the other companies are going to, everything's going to be up on your roof, but it's not doing you any good. It's like having a paperweight up there,
Right.
Yeah.
right? You're not producing anything until all this gets resolved and done.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not trying to be the bad guys here. We're trying to go off of building codes and utility requirements. This is all the things that they want. So it's not stuff that we want to do. Is that we just have to follow the rules, and that's what we do.
Ralph and I talked earlier, and one of the research things I did when I started at Harmon was I started researching, how long solar installers had been in business here in Phoenix in the area. And I would advise people to do your homework on that, because you start looking back like beyond 5 and 10 years, most of the install companies are no longer here.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, there's a reason why, right? And the reason Harmon's still standing here, I think, is because they take pride in what they do, number one, but they do it the right way.
Yeah.
It's so true. We've talked about that a million times.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you just in the last year how many of them have gone out of business.
Yeah. So if you're a homeowner and you're looking at solar, one of the questions that you should ask during that appointment is, how long have you been doing installs?
Yeah.
If they're like, oh, just, a couple months, like, okay, I don't know if I want to be in business with you guys. But if it's someone that's been around since the 70s.
And
doing
I
work,
just wouldn't take people's word, right? Get online and figure
Yeah.
it out.
Right.
I think we
You
all
can
have
figure
that
it out.
capability at our fingertips today to start doing that kind of. And look, it's not spending a day doing research; it's spending 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you can start finding those answers and driving out. Who do I really want to partner with?
Right.
Right? Do I want do I want to partner with the company that's still standing all these years later, that has the support? They've got an office building, right? If I physically need to walk in somewhere, guess what? I can walk into their company and speak to someone.
Right. So when you walk into that building and you make a slight right and you go all the way
down the
about
hallway
1,
on the
2,
right-hand
3,
side.
4 doors.
There you go. There's
Yeah,
my
that's right.
office.
That's right.
If you can get by our security guard.
That's true. That's true.
She is packing.
Yeah.
All right. So another thing that would stop you sometimes, I want to bring this up. I know we've talked about it, but I'd like to hear from you, is if we get into something and it's an unpermitted structure. So let's talk about that. We just had a house like that recently, right?
Correct, we did.
Like I guess they had I can't remember what they had that was unpermitted. Was it a overhang or?
I want to say it was a rear patio.
Okay.
That wasn't permitted. And what we run into is generally we can get down the road a little bit in permitting, and then we'll install, and then all of a sudden it'll get flagged as we start calling for our final inspections, or what we like to call green tag inspections, and we won't be able to obtain inspection. Right. So here we go. Client systems on your house, not functional, not turned on, can't get inspection until unpermitted structure is resolved.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And now all of a sudden you're up against a clock of loan expirations or payments starting, homeowners now making loan payments, but solar's not turned on. Right.
Yeah.
It just causes
It's a
havoc for everyone.
It's a rolling effect. And the one I'm thinking of recently was just a battery.
Yeah,
We were just doing a battery. We weren't even
looking
doing
at
solar.
A design install and patio is unpermitted, and so once again we've got to go back and say, hey, we've got to call a timeout, right? And once again, not going to make the client happy that we're calling a timeout, but let's be realistic with what's going on, right? We could get down this road. You're going to have this battery purchase, this contract, whether you're paying cash or it's a finance deal. There's money vested into it at this point, and it's going to go nowhere fast.
Right. To your point that you were just talking about. So now we can't move on this thing. And then they're going to come out and say, well, you're going to have to tear this patio down.
Yep.
Or they're going to say, hey, here's a $900 fine, $1,000 fine.
Yep.
Who wants to play that game?
Nobody.
Right. And your point that you were making was, it's not our rules.
Yeah.
We have to play by the rules.
A lot of customers think it's Harmon said this, Harmon said, like, no, the utility said that, jurisdiction said this, like, it's not us.
We're trying to protect you.
Yeah.
So if we see that, we pause right away and say, we're not going forward because this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless you get an inspector or somebody that's just clueless and doesn't care. But typically nowadays we're seeing more and more of that's not the case.
Correct.
They are looking at stuff.
Yeah.
So we have to prevent that. So that's just another thing that can pause it.
Same thing with EV chargers. I know we see that a lot. People have unpermitted EV chargers.
Yeah, that's very common.
Very common, because they don't know any better. They, I have an electric car. Let me put my EV charger in my garage.
My buddy's friend does electrical. He came over, ran a 50 amp circuit for me. And I'm not going to obviously name jurisdictions, but there's jurisdictions out there now that they require a picture of the panel at time of permit. So when we first submit, and the reason being is because they want to be able to identify the circuits that were there when the house was built and what's currently there on that main panel cover to show what's been altered or what's new.
Yeah.
And it gets flagged immediately at that point if that's in those jurisdictions.
And then we have to have those conversations with the homeowner and say, hey, your system will not be installed or turned on unless you get a permit for your EV charger.
Yep.
So we can help you do that, but you need to have a permit for this because what you just paid for your solar system, like you were saying, it's a paperweight now.
Let's talk reality. I don't mind, and I've instructed our teams, right? We don't mind being the guy helping doing this, right? But there's a delay there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that expectation, once again, I'm an expectation guy. And we have to set that expectation properly that, okay, here's what we're up against. Here's the delay. We don't mind helping you. Just know that it's going to take some time to walk through that because once again, we're going to have to go out and gather information. What did your electrician do?
Yep.
How did they wire it? Because we've now got to identify that on a plan set, get it submitted, wait for the permit, have that inspected and get approval on that before we even take our next steps.
And we found out, I can think of one instance in particular where that friend's electrician who did the EV charger, apparently they did it wrong and it wasn't up to code. So then we had to go out and redo it the correct way. So, even though it was working, their EV charger was working fine, but it just wasn't up to code and it wasn't permitted. So that took, like you said, took delays.
Let's talk about the code because I actually have some background there. The code, what people don't understand, the code is a minimum standard.
Yeah.
It's not the maximum.
Yeah.
Right. There's reasons why it's there, and it's to protect life and safety of the homeowner.
Yeah.
That's really what you're looking at.
Yeah. And we follow that code.
Yeah. I say unfortunately, it's really not unfortunate. People sometimes view it as unfortunate because it can delay some processes.
Yeah. Right. Every morning when the bell rings at Harmon, we stand up and recite that code.
And some companies don't follow. I'm just going to say that. Okay, so go back to the installation day. I know we go off on it's okay that we go off on tangents. It's we don't talk about this stuff.
It's what I do best.
Yeah, very true. So guys spend their day there. The panels are up and installed. They've run the conduit. Everything's hooked into the.
So let's kind of walk through it, right? L feet are going to go on. Racking is going to go on. So when I say racking, the railing that the modules are going to secure to. They're going to start doing all their wire management, which is obviously pre-running all their PV wire. J boxes get installed. Your foreman is generally downstairs. He's generally not up on the roof unless they need some help up there. And he's starting to do all the groundwork, which is hang equipment, start doing all the pipe work, bending all the pipe downstairs, getting all that ready. The guys then should be able to get to a point once all that stuff up on the roof is taken care of and wire management is done, where modules start getting landed on all of the railing that's there and getting secured down with end clamps and mid clamps. Obviously, sounds really fast in essence, right?
Right.
Took about 15 seconds flat to get that done. It takes the majority of a day, depending on system size and arrays and location. And then we obviously, before our guys get done, we want them cleaning up the job site, right? I'll give you a great story. I know we talk about other installers. I actually got a call, I'm going to say it was a couple months ago, from a salesperson pretty upset with us that, hey, here's a photo you guys left a drink up on the roof. It happened. It's reality. It happened. I'm looking at the photo. It was real. And so I start making some phone calls, right? Because that's what I do. I got to get to the bottom of the problem, figure out who I can get out there and get it taken care of, rewalk the roof, make sure everything's, cleaned up and copacetic. And as I called the super, and I'm not trying to bag on my super because I love the guy. Yeah, Brad, I went up there. I was helping the guys. I had the drink in my hand. I set it down, and I actually forgot it.
Sinner.
Right? Once again, super. But it's reality.
1-star review.
Well, but that's, once again, when I talk about reality and humans, and
it happens.
Right? It happens. Here's our super. He didn't do it blatantly.
Right.
He did it. It was mistakenly left there. We ended up getting a phone call. He went back, right? Rewalked, got his drink down off the. But once again, things happen, right? We're a phone call away. I think that's one of the things that we stand behind is we're going to make sure we do things right.
Right.
Doesn't mean we're going to try. Look, my main intent to be efficient is to do things right the first time out of the gate. But dealing with humans, dealing with a imperfect world, doesn't always go down that way. And the good thing is we stand behind what we do, and we're going to come back and take care of what we need to take care of.
I don't think in all my years here that we've ever said, you know what, we did mess up, but we're not going to do anything about it.
Well, and we've talked about this all the time. It's construction. Things happen. Yeah. It's not about the thing that happens, and hopefully it's not too bad. It's about how you react to it.
Right.
And we will always react in a positive way and make it right. We're always going to make it right. Our ownership has preached that since I've been here 11 years, and they preached that since day one. So that's important. We'll make it right. Will everybody else make it right? I don't know.
I'll tell you, I used to hear it in the home building industry all the time. Well, I can't see it from my house. That's exactly opposite the way we operate, right? Because I think being a local contractor, working for our owners and how they value the business, right? Repeat and refer. I say repeat, but it's referral business is what helps drive us. And so that's a huge thing for us, is trying to maintain referrals. And I used to say this all the time, and I've actually talked, there's a couple clients that have reached out even multiple times since we've been done with their projects throughout the 4 years I've been there. And one of my favorite lines that I love to tell people is, at the end of the day, I want you waving at me with 5 fingers, not one. How do I get there? Right?
Can that be
that's my goal?
Can that be Harmon's slogan?
That's a great. I would love that T-shirt.
That would,
I gotta tell my wife that one.
But that's my. I learned it in the home building industry, because here's the deal: as we were building communities, right? You're in and out of streets, even once homeowners start taking possession of their houses, and you're still there, right? And people get frustrated, and that used to be our thing: is, hey, at the end of the day, I need you waving at me with 5 fingers, not one. How do I get there? What do I need to do? And I think that philosophy has always stuck with me, even into this industry. Is right. You drive through the Phoenix neighborhoods and see how many solar systems are installed on homes. Right. As we drive down streets, look, wave at us with 5 fingers. That's our goal. How do we get there with you? Right?
We need that on the back of our shirts.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I really like that.
I'll let you pitch that.
Yeah, I really like that. That's phenomenal. It's kind of like you're the one that you say. We've actually put that up at the home shows now. Not everyone should get solar, but everyone should look at it.
Yeah.
And that's our motto now. But we also have to have the finger
That's
thing.
the second motto. I like it.
Could have them side by side. I like that. Okay, so your team has spent their day doing everything you just said. We got the drinks down, everything, and it's all good. What's next?
What's next is generally we're going to try and get someone out to QA, QC the system.
Okay, so what's that person do?
Well, let me kind of back up. First thing,
What is QA/QC?
quality assurance, quality control.
There you go. I knew what it was. It's just for the listeners.
Yeah. Let's talk about our guys. Generally, we tell our guys we want them to bump the system, and when they say bump the system, right before they leave, we want to make sure that everything's is working to its functional intent when we leave. Once again, are the guys going to miss something? Sure. There's 30 stickers that have to go on in certain locations and identifying things here and there. So yeah, things get missed. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. So we try and get someone out to QA/QC the system, have a look, make sure that whatever we miss gets rectified, gets taken care of. Once again, that person's only human too, right?
Right.
And if they're on the phone and they got 20 other things going on, are they fully, or did they miss something? Because then what we generally do once we're done, install is good to go. Generally within a couple of days, we're calling for what we call green tag inspection. Client's lingo, final inspection, right? We're calling for final inspection on your solar install. Inspector's going to come out. They're going to open up our plan set. They're going to start taking a look. Do we have all of our identification markers, our stickers on? Is everything good to go? Are our backfeed breakers sized accordingly? Is our conduit sized accordingly? J-box is correct, things of that nature. They're going to take a look at all of that.
And this person's from the city.
Correct, from the jurisdiction.
And the plans are inside the actual panel, right?
Yeah,
we keep them there.
We'll leave them in the panel. Okay. We have had clients take them inside. We just ask that please put them back, because if not, the jurisdiction will then essentially walk away and go, hey, no plans on site. Sorry, we failed your inspection.
Right.
So we try and leave them readily accessible for the inspector. Once we get notification, whether it's a pass or fail, look, fails do happen. That's the real world.
Right.
We actually internally have what we call a go back list, right? So it gets put on this list. We're running guys constantly. If there are go backs, to get back out to jobs to take care of any corrections that need to be made.
Can you give an example of what's a go back? So give me an example of go backs that commonly happen.
We missed a placard, right? Or the placard. So we actually. So some of the placards that go on, right, we actually source out to an engraving or a sign company.
And these are the little things that go on the inside
on the panel door, thing that get riveted on, things of that nature. And so let's say that the foreman that's out there, it doesn't really pay attention to that placard. Once again, he's supposed to, but things happen. He's in a hurry, trying to get wrapped up, installs a placard. And let's see the placard's off by a module count, right? And the inspector looks at that and failed. Okay, doesn't match. So things like that happen. Our intent, though, is to get through final inspection, which we're going to call green tag, right? Mm-hmm. Green tag, once the inspector says, hey, it's built accordingly to your plan set, it's correct, everything is good to go, we're going to green light you. They then send notification to the utility company, right? It used to be, when I first even started at Harmon, we were able to also call the utility company and say, hey, we passed final inspection.
Yeah.
Or green tag. Now it's all automated. So the jurisdictions are sending over approvals to the utility, which we've seen that actually delay up to like 2 days, 48 hours for the jurisdiction to get that paperwork processed and sent over to the utility. Once the utility receives it, right, we've got a duration there of them. Once again, now they hold the ball, and utility is several weeks out from physically coming out and what we call commissioning the system. Which is setting the meter socket. The utility will come out. They'll let us know that they're coming out to set meter socket. They'll give us a notification generally right after they install. We receive their notification pretty quickly after they install. But generally, it could be up to a 2, 3, 4 week gap from the time we pass until utility gets out there to install meter socket.
So what you're saying, that system could be up on the roof. It passed the city inspection. and it just sits.
Correct.
And there's
Turn it on.
nothing we control
Correct.
Right.
because now we need the utility.
To set the production.
They got to
meter
bring
for
that
the
little
system.
meter thing, and they got to stick it in the in the thing, the
Yeah.
thing in the thing.
To kind of summarize it, back in the very beginning of the process, we developed the plans. We submitted to the jurisdiction and said, this is what we're installing. Then we go out and install that based off the plans. And then the city comes back out and goes, okay, did you install it based off of these plans? We need to check these things.
Correct.
So that's that whole process and why it takes so long. And then city, like you said.
Then the utility has to come out and turn it on.
Exactly.
In a sense.
Correct. They're also going to look at it while they're there before they just set the meter. They're going to
Sure.
make sure that everything is good on their end.
Right.
They'll set meter, and generally we then get notification that we ask clients, like, because it'll be about a day gap before the utility notifies us that they've set. So we'll tell clients, call your project manager and let them know, hey, I saw the guy out. They set meter today.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And we get that phone call. We don't know when the utility comes out to do this.
Nope.
They don't tell us.
No.
They don't give us a day or a time. They just show up.
Right. So they'll tell us maybe a day or two later.
Correct.
So if it happens, you need to call in. Talk to your project manager. You've been talking to them all this time.
It just helps. It helps expedite that process.
And then would we go out and turn it on, or would we ask the customer to turn it on, or a combination of?
We'll then schedule someone back out to that site, and essentially they are going to walk the homeowner through the commissioning process. They're going to get the system turned on, and by doing that, what they're also going to do is show them how to set up monitoring. Right, a lot of people want, and my novice starting into solar, right? Oh, so you guys monitor all the systems? No, we don't monitor, right?
There it is.
We set the monitoring up for the client to monitor their system. Mind you, doesn't mean if something goes on, you're not going to call us. If something goes on, you're going to call us. We'll come back for that. But clients have that kind of ownership as far as monitoring their solar production, making sure that everything is functioning.
So we're going to put the little flashy thing up. Harmon Solar does not monitor your solar system.
I always tell people it's like a check engine light in your car.
Yeah.
When the check engine light comes on, do you call a dealer or does the dealer call you? You call it either.
It's true.
Same thing with, know, when something goes wrong with your monitoring, does Harmon call you or do you call Harmon?
You got to call us.
Call her.
Yep.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So we walk through it with them. We turn it on. Their monitoring is set up.
Yeah, and so what happens is what's interesting is when the guys, the foreman's responsible for turning in what we call a wire map when our install's done, right? Which kind of says, hey, here's the module numbers. Here's where they're at up on your roof, right? He's got a sticker map that he creates, and then the system gets built that way into that software system. Okay. So
It's panel level monitoring or not, right?
yeah, right. So that way, if something were to happen, especially on like end phase with microinverters, you can tell immediately what module you're having an issue with.
Right, exactly. Okay, so real quick, back to the QA guy. So we kind of talked about him a little bit. Is he basically there? He's checking out everything to make sure everything's good and clean. He goes up does he go up on the roof?
Should go up on the roof as well.
See if there's any panels that are tiles that need to be replaced, because typically tiles can crack.
So foreman create. We have an end of day report for the foreman to create. Foremen are supposed to let us know, right? Hey, we busted. I'm going to throw it out there. 50 tiles, right? It's not unheard of. Okay, so we have a roofing team, right? We send our roofing team back to reinstall any roof tiles that are broke or busted or need to be adjusted.
Yep.
The other thing that I do like to talk about, it's come up a couple times, is we will generally, so once again, concrete roof tiles, they're done in dye lots, right? What happens to anything that's dyed when the sun beats on it for years?
It's going to crack.
Well,
Fade.
no, the
Fades.
color it
Yeah.
fades.
Oh,
You're
it
gonna have-
fade.
Yeah.
So here's what we deal with. Here's what we deal with clients, right? Is so we all of a sudden we go out to do tile replacements or repair tiles, and now you've got a shade variation on your roof, right? So our guys are trained. What we'd rather do, right, is peel tiles out from under the array, put the new tile that we've ordered under the array where it's not visible, and then take that tile and utilize it in the areas where we broke tile, so that if I'm the guy, your next door neighbor walking by your house, I really don't see any evidence of, hey, there's discoloration of the tile or it doesn't match. But mind you, being in the building industry for the years I was, what I can tell you, it's the same thing with roof tile. Go drive even new production neighborhoods, and you'll see tiles that look like they got patches on the roof, because once again they're done in dye lots.
I didn't even think about doing that.
Yeah. That's why.
Did you know
easier.
we do that?
That's why. No.
I didn't know that.
That's why he's here.
You both learned something new.
I learned
today.
one thing. That's what I'm kidding.
There's only one
One
thing.
thing. No, that's really interesting. That makes a lot of sense. Huh.
Yeah.
I learned 2 things today. The first one, I was following directions to get here.
Okay. The second one was that I'm actually good looking. It's
I don't
the
know that
lights.
I go that
It's
far.
the lights.
Definitely not.
Are we gonna edit that out?
Yes. So the point of the talking about QA also was if you notice that there's some broken stuff up there's some tiles missing. Yeah, we know. We're gonna come back and fix
We're gonna
that.
come back. So the QA guy, obviously, he's not rolling around with just a truckload of roof tiles or things in there. So what he'll do is they'll let our super know we've got a list. It'll get added to that list, and we're gonna put it on that. Hey, we're gonna come back on such and such a date. PM should reach back out to you. Hey, can we come this date? We're gonna send someone by, whether it's to do tiles, whether it's wire management, something slipped. There's a multitude of things, right? But yeah, we're still going to communicate through that.
So I mean, if for some reason as a customer, maybe you didn't talk to the foreman before he left, maybe you weren't home, whatever, and he didn't tell you, hey, there's that up there. We're going to come back and get that. Know that we are going to do that. If you're not comfortable, you can call your PM. They'll tell you the same thing regardless. But yeah, we get that phone call sometimes. So I know on the sales side we get it. There's panels missing. There's things missing up there. Well, yeah, we know. Don't worry. We're going to come fix that.
We're not done yet.
Expectations.
You're right. Expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so that's installation day and beyond even.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And at that point,
we're beyond.
you're done with your, they're commissioned, they're turned on, the monitoring is set up, and you guys are good to go. Next job.
Till the phone call comes in.
There's no phone call.
It's okay that it happens. And once again, I want our clients to know, right? That's the difference that separates Harmon. When you call, you're going to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Right? We're not just going to keep hitting voicemail. Mind you, you might get a voicemail if we're sitting in meetings or something. But we'll call you back, and we're gonna resolve your issue. Once again, we're going to try and meet in the middle of if we did something wrong, we're coming back, or if you're just unhappy with something, then we're going to try and find some middle ground with you.
Yeah.
Once
Agreed.
again, I want to see 5 fingers, not one.
I love that. we're doing that. We're going to get that shirt.
All right.
What are we missing? Can you think of anything else?
That is that's a lot. I think that's it. It's on your roof. It's turned on. Start saving money, right? That's it.
That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game. Can you think of anything else you want to share with our viewers?
No, once again, just expectations. I'm a huge expectation guy.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. I think we all have internal expectations on everything every day. It's not always a good thing, but we all internalize and do that.
Yeah.
And I think unless you're talking to people about those expectations, your perception sometimes gets very, very misconstrued. And so I think it's critical that we set proper expectations. The clients understand those expectations, right? And if you don't understand them, call.
Yeah.
Pick up a phone and call, and let's have those conversations, right? Because at the end of the day, I want you happy with us.
Yep.
And how do we get there? I look, I can't solve the world's problems, but if I can make your life a little bit easier and better, then that's the intent of this, right? I mean, we're not there to upset you. We're there to install a product that you wanted installed on your home and get you across that finish line with the way you anticipated it, right? But once again, it's from the word go, setting these expectations correctly. And
At the end of the day, we've talked about it a million times. It's all about communication, right?
Yep.
We don't want to find out you're not happy when we read a review.
Right.
We want to avoid that. But at the same time, once we've taken care of that situation and fixed it, we want the review to be, hey, maybe they weren't perfect, but in the end, they were perfect.
Right.
well,
Right.
see, and I'll disagree with you on that.
Okay, disagree with me.
There's no such thing as perfection.
Well, there is in my house. But anyway,
And here we are in your house.
you're right. You're right. There's no such
thing.
thing
Look,
as perfection.
we can be good at what we do.
Right.
We can't be perfect at what we do.
We can meet expectations,
I can be
Yes.
perfect.
but we have to set them first.
We have to set them, and we have to be very clear with what they are.
And sometimes maybe in the sales side of the conversation, maybe sometimes people don't give proper expectations.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, let's be realists, right? Sometimes people only hear what they want to hear too.
That's true too.
Yep.
That's true. And on both ends, that's true.
Yeah. So it's once again, we're humans. We're all trying to get to this finish line together.
Right.
And how do we do that, right? To make everyone happy when we cross over that finish
Agreed.
line.
It's a partnership, and so we talk about it all the time. You guys play a role in this. So you're buying the solar from us, but you are partnering with us to get this to the finish line.
Yep.
So there's things you have to do. There's communications we need from you. And as long as we all kind of play together nice, this could be a great process. And it usually is.
Yeah.
For the majority, it is. There's always the squeaky, the squeaky wheel that we have to deal with here and there. But for the and we fix those issues.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Right. I mean, when we're sitting in a meeting with leadership and we're talking about this stuff, we're not talking about all those stuff that went great. We're talking about the ones where there's things going on that we need to fix to get to the next level. And we need everybody to play their part to make it work. And that's what a big part of your job is. So I don't envy your job.
Well, there's days I don't either. So now we're all on the same page. It's expectations.
So we have now gone through the entire process.
We're done. Thanks for coming to our podcast. Signing off forever. We're all done, right?
We're 13 episodes in or whatever, and we finally got to the end. We're not done with the podcast, obviously. We're going to do a lot more stuff.
Sure.
But we've gone through from A to Z.
Yep.
This is the process. Brad's the back end, right? So perfect. We've done the whole thing. And what's next?
What's next?
We'll see. We're probably gonna.
We have a lot of options.
We do have a lot of options.
Viewers, if you have suggestions, feel free to give us some.
The best option. Yeah, you guys won't like it. You might not like it. You know what I honestly think we should do? We need to bring a client.
Yes.
We talked about that.
We have talked about that.
I have a couple in mind I've already reached out to. So
I think that's. I had some discussion a while back, and we haven't done it yet. But I think I'd like to bring into our ops meeting once a month, right? Bring a client in to get their perspective in front of our team.
I would love that.
I think it's hugely beneficial.
I do
to kind of piggyback of what you've been saying a lot of. I have a customer that things didn't go well at first, but then we fixed it, and now he's happy. I thought he would be a good.
That's the person I want.
Yeah.
I want the person that was happy all the way through. I want the person that wasn't happy and then is happy at the end. And probably even a person that maybe is not happy, at the end and why they're not happy and what did we do? That's going to be an expect. I guarantee you, it's not going to be that they didn't get what they bought. It's going to be something else.
Yeah, because anyone can bring on people that are all sunshine and rainbows, but let's be transparent.
Agreed. So we'll look at doing things like that. We'll also get into the dealer network. I want to talk about that. I think it's important to understand in solar, like we've talked about, there's us that we have our own internal sales team, and there's also sales companies out there that don't install, but they sell you solar.
Yeah.
And how we work with some companies like that, and you need to understand how that process works because it's different. So I want to put that out there as well.
Okay.
So we'll
we got options.
We got options for the next one. So we'll hang on. We'll let you know. Brad, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us,
all
Brad.
you do. I know that we don't always see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, we do.
It was good to get out of the office.
Yeah, and it's always good to get out of the office. That's why I work remote.
Yeah.
So
it's good to get out of the office for me too.
Mr. Everything, thank you again for joining us.
I'll see you next time.
And thanks for viewing this. Again, if you need to get in touch with Harmon Solar, 800-281-3189, or you can visit us at harmonsolar.com. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.